Hello and welcome to In the Pocket. My name's Jonny.
And my name's Chris.
Two totally average bass players, and we're here to talk all about that bass. As well as answering your questions at home, each week we take a look at the latest news, maybe break down some tones, all to give you the lowdown on the low end. This week, however, we are extremely excited to be joined by a very special guest. He's string slamming, Instagramming session sensation, a star-studded resume such as Suicidal Tendencies, Kelly Osbourne, Daughty, and many more. He's mohawked like a punk, but a big old chunk of hunk. It's Josh Paul.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. How are things at the minute?
Things are awesome. I'm easing into the day. I have a lot of caffeine as per the usual, but I'm good.
Incredible. Yeah, it's like it's almost as if we're living on separate sides of the world at the minute because it's nice.
Quite literally.
The temperature you are. It's the morning. We're needing the coffee to stay awake because it's not too bad to be fair. It's about 6 p.m. here for us, so
not too bad. And it's
very cold there.
Yeah, we're in a cold spot at the moment. It's about it was -5 overnight for me last night.
Yeah, -4 for me. And Chris is up north, Chris is, so it's very chilly up there.
Sounds like you guys are in competition.
Always.
So -5, -4.
Constantly.
I don't know what's happening here. Come on, I'm going to have to hold you guys back.
There's a small Spanish island in Europe called Tenerife. And in England, we have a phrase called 11-a-reef, which is basically like a...
right.
Oh, well, I did this. Well, God, I had to get up at 6 o'clock this morning. Yeah, well, I got up at 4, and it just, those kind of people. That's me and Jonny.
Right.
We compete to see who is the most tired.
Josh, you're not getting a word in edgeways. If it comes in a topic, we'll just be slamming each other off, the whole time.
We're doing what?
I'm entertained, so I'm good.
We're not here to talk about us. We are here to talk with you, of course, and we'd like to start things off, if that's okay. For those that are living under a rock and don't know who you are, Josh, we can ask some questions to get to know you just a little bit better. So I'm going to start things off with our quickfire questions at the start. Number one, what is your number one bass?
My number one bass is actually here. I have it right over here. Hold on one second.
Oh my gosh. If you are listening,
let's
you
deliberately not describe it. Yes. Oh my, that's nice.
Man.
So this is a Stingray, Music Man Stingray special 4-string HH Raspberry Burst. And it's beautiful. It's punchy. It's got an ebony fretboard, and it kicks major ass.
Should have started with that one.
And
kicks major ass.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And I also obviously love the Dark Ray. I use that quite a bit.
Nice.
And those are my two go-tos.
Very nice. That actually jumps into two very quick questions just to hijack the entire quick fire format of this. You're a HH guy on the Stingray.
Yeah,
I have
definitely.
I've always been a single. A H. I'm a H guy. Why two? I'm a
just not a just
this. I'm just the important part is none of us here are triple H, unfortunately.
No, not yet.
Not yet. So yeah, why two humbuckers? What's the advantage for you? More is more.
There's something about having the HH. I don't know if it's the weight that it brings to the sound.
Okay.
Because I only use really two positions, which are the bridge and the second position. I hardly ever use the neck position, but there's something, because I've played both, obviously, and with the single, there, when you add that double in there, there's something that adds a little bit of girth to it. And I think it's just having those extra magnets in there. The power, there's a depth that it adds. And try playing. I don't know if you have an HH there, but if you try kind of compare the two, and you will tell the difference picking them up.
Yeah, I watched a YouTube video a while ago where someone was comparing. This was before I purchased this not Dart Ray, Ray 34 behind me. There was even with a HH, if you will, in the traditional Stingray position, there was a sound difference just because those magnets, despite the fact that they were taken out of the chain at that point, were sort of present. They were, because the magnets are pulling on the strings regardless. So you find there's I could hear a difference. It sounds like you do as well. Mm-hmm. And do you find yourself like are you moving your hand onto that other pickup at all, or are you staying? Could that be an advantage?
I think so. I actually do use it. I move around a little bit position wise, just tonally, but I do use that front pickup as well for hand placement.
Beautiful
thumb rest.
It's a very expensive thumb rest there.
A very expensive.
It is
thumb
a
rest.
very expensive.
Very nice.
I actually really like.
But it does. There is a difference in the sound. For sure. Sorry to interrupt.
Of course. I actually really like. I don't know what that second position you're selecting is doing. I quite like humbuck in the bridge and then like a single in the middle or neck position. Quite a lot like, Sandbergs do that a lot. And I really like that sound. Like you say, it's that same thing. It just gives it a touch more girth in the sound. And love it.
Definitely.
Love it.
Me too.
Right.
Fist bumps all around.
that's
what
can't reach the camera. Be.
That's
what this episode is just going to be. And we're like, yes, you. That's the best.
Yeah, that's it. Heck yeah, chest bump.
Like we're in some sort of Power Rangers movie. Well, I have many other questions, but I will shelve them for later. Okay. So we'll go on to the very not quick fire question 2.
Yeah,
this always happens. Always happens.
Rename this bit.
Yeah,
just the fire questions.
Just like fire questions.
Slow burn.
The smouldering questions.
Wow. Oh, we can do that.
Ooh.
Right. Question 2. And you have to do that. You have to fit the brief on this one, unfortunately. Describe your bass playing in 3 words. That's ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Well, initially I would say pretty fucking terrible. But
don't you bring that here.
I would think that my wife would think differently. She's already yelled at me for using that kind of language. So charmingly aggressive funk.
Oh,
I like it.
How's that?
Killer combo, man. Yes. I mean, when I think of your playing, I'm like, yes, that aggression, and that's what I love about it, because that I can see a lot of myself in that, because I don't hold back. I hit hard when I play.
I do too.
And so to get that kind of punchy sound out of things, and I just think that I knew that word was going to come up somewhere in this conversation. So I'm pleased that if you were like way too soft or something, unless you do think that, you're like,
needs more work.
Play harder. Yeah,
should practice more.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, need to practice.
Oh yeah,
more.
Yeah,
it's
funny that, isn't it?
But no, yeah. I guess aggressive would be probably the most useful description of my playing. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it's bang on. I like the charmingly as well at the start. Just like
give me three words.
Oh, no. Charming was good. Mohawk Funk Machine.
Okay.
Surprisingly slappy distortion. You do grit it up. You do. You're a dirty boy.
I love the grit.
Absolutely. And we'll pick that up later on, because for those that don't know, when we bring a guest along, we do ask them to bring along a tasty tone of theirs as well. And you've done just that today, and we will listen to that later on. So stay tuned for that coming up. I'm going to move on to our next quick fire question now. And it is, why did you pick up the bass?
Okay. I started out as a drummer, and my grandfather played bass. My grandfather played every instrument, really, but started out playing drums, and I was always sort of drawn to the bass as well. We ended up moving into an apartment, and you can't really play drums in an apartment, at least not with the neighbors trying to beat down your door, especially as a little dude, banging on cymbals and stuff like that. So there was a bass lying around, and picked it up. My grandfather helped me out. My cousin helped me out. I just started learning songs. And that was the closest thing to playing drums that I felt. But you can also add some melody into the mix, which I loved.
Yeah. So
tried to play drums on the bass, really.
And that absolutely shows as well, I think, especially with you as a player. You're very, I think it'd be silly to not say you're a very percussive bass player, especially with like the slap elements, and you can see why that sort of started off as a drummer has blended into your bass playing. So I think it's very apt.
I think it really stuck. Sort of that rhythmic stuff. I'm a huge fan of drummers, and I'm a huge fan of percussion. So anytime that I can incorporate that into my playing, I try to.
When people are learning, it's often somewhere they might come from guitar, or they might think more like a guitarist as a bass player because they think I'm playing with strings and like a melody, but actually concentrating more on the drum side of it, I think is such a valuable lesson to show people. And I love in the interviews you've done before when you said about like when you like play drum beats on the bass, and that got me thinking about like how slap works, and like it's often like when you're popping out, that's almost like the snare, it's that.
It is the snare. Yeah. And that's how when I try to come up with pieces or parts or, just messing around, I'll basically try to do drum fills. How would I approach this when I'm sitting at the kit?
Yeah. I think it's a masterful way to look at it. And I love that journey. And even now, Chris, I've learned so much.
Right. We can wrap it up here if you want. 14
done.
Minutes in, it's not bad.
Done. We'll be like, wow,
I'm done. You want value? You want value, listener? Mike,
you got it.
I'll give you value.
You got it.
Mike.
Only got 10 minutes today. Let's do this.
We have an in-joke now where for one episode we decided to call our entire listener base Mike. And then now it's like everyone is Mike.
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
You, Michael.
Looking at you, Michael, driving to work right now, listening to this.
Just one.
What's up, Mike?
Change your strings. You owe me money.
Oh.
Damn it, Michael. All right.
Come on.
It just works. See what I mean? It just works.
It does. It really does.
Maybe it's because we're like talking to our mics here. We're like,
Michael. Oh my God. It all makes sense.
It's so meta, man. It's so.
Jeez, we need therapy.
we need a producer to be like.
The universe just somehow came together in a magical moment to where we just realized the secret to life is Mike.
Exactly. The secret to life is the Rode Pod mic.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Yet.
But we wish it was.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right. Thank you so much. I hope the people have, as well as learning lots and the meaning of life.
You're welcome.
Yes, you are welcome. Let's move on to our first question, shall we? That if you want to get involved and ask questions, suggest guests, etc., you better go and make sure that you follow us on Instagram at In The Pocket Pod, where we announce all of our guests, and you comment down below your questions. And occasionally people message us as well with your questions. That's totally fine as well. Some fine folk have done just that. And Chris, shall we take it from here?
Let's do just that. Well, question 1. I'm going to try and hold my phone in a way where it looks like I'm looking at you while I'm talking. Oh, I've done it wrong. My phone's in the frame. Never mind.
Drum
That's so
roll.
impressive.
Yeah. How, is this okay? Yeah. Have I got that?
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You look like Mike.
This one.
I'm going to take mirror selfies in the bathroom right now. Check it.
We're going to cut to a commercial break. No, he's doing it here. Never mind.
Never
God.
mind.
Question 1. So you got the call to join Suicidal Tendencies at 18, at the grand old age of 18 years old. How did you get yourself into the position where you were that guy, fresh in people's minds, to join a band of that experience at a very young age for a working career musician?
So in high school, and junior high, really, I was playing gigs around LA, and I was putting my own little bands together. And I ended up I am still a huge fan of Fishbone. And, my band at the time, we really just wanted to be Fishbone. So I had a horn section, and I had, a percussionist, and was writing all this kind of crazy, heavy funk, but with some heavy sections in there as well. And doing shows around LA and a bunch of Malibu and stuff like that. I ended up running into my friend Brooks Wackerman, who I had known. So his band would play along, and we would do some of the same shows and kind of always run into each other. And I had heard that he was playing with Infectious Grooves, and he was 15 at the time. And he had his own band. I think it was called Lucy's Milk or something like that. And he ended up hitting me up one day. He's all, dude, you play in Suicidal? Looking for a bass player. I was like, what? Where are you, Robert? What?
No.
Yeah. So I went in and I played, and it ended up working out. And Brooks and I, knowing him and kind of growing up around him, being sort of this in the same circles, we play very well together. Always have. So that really helped a lot, kind of knowing and feeling what each other was going to do and being familiar with how each other plays. So it worked out really well. I still think, that rhythm section in that incarnation, if that's a word, of the band was really, really solid and a lot of fun to do.
I think there's so much to say there about playing really well with certain people, because I get that as well, where sometimes I don't know how you find it, Chris, because you just turn up as a session player a lot of the time and might not have played with the people before. You've got more experience than me in this department, but sometimes you just gel with people a lot more personally and just vibe more on the stage, and it's just magic, isn't it? It's you can't. There's no recipe for that. Sometimes, I guess, if you know them.
Yeah,
it's really work. But
I never thought that would be a thing, but it definitely is. Like I've done a lot of either session recording with someone, like a live recording, or like a wedding, or like a covers gig or something where I've met this drummer, or could be another guitarist, but let's just pretend it's a drummer for the sake of this conversation. And you've known them for like an hour or something, and then they get on the kit, you get on stage, and it's just like, and it just works. And it's it's songs that you've all played 100 million times. Let's pretend it's like, I don't know, Stuck in the Middle with You by Steelers Wheel, which seems to be how every wedding band opens a wedding set, by the way. I hate going to weddings as a gig now, because I'm like, I'll sit there with my girlfriend and go, I bet you they play this now, and then they play Crazy by Niles Barkley, and I'm like, see,
it's the set.
But anyway, yeah. So it just works. Like some drummers are like kind of like they might like to play behind the beat a little bit, and you get that immediately, and it just all locks in nicely. And then I've got 2 or 3 drummers that immediately spring to memory. Can't get along with it. I can't. I've done gigs where I'm like, I can't. It's not that they're a bad drummer. They aren't a bad drummer. They are playing everything correct. It's like, and I'm playing my parts right. Everything is in time and all this kind of thing. But it's like, I just can't. I can't get along with you. musically. It's like kind of, you know, and it's far from a bad thing. It's not like there's any errors or anything. It's like the way you sit on the beat, or the way you like the go-to fill you go to, I don't like. And it's like, I can't, you know, do you know what I mean? It just sometimes happens, doesn't it? But it sounds like you were very lucky and you got the exact opposite, which is what we want to hear.
Yeah, there are just some people that you instantly, okay, this works. You know, when you're doing a show or you're doing a session or something, you're like, oh, hell yeah. And like you say, and other times it's not like it's bad. It's just, it doesn't feel like some of the other times.
Yeah, it's like it's not cooking. It's like there's no mojo. It's like that extra little bit of seasoning isn't quite there.
Bit of
That's spice.
Yeah. You know it.
Absolutely.
Josh, I wonder if you could give your advice, please, on someone who might be in kind of that position now, you know, in the world of social media and everything, and you could think of a couple of bass players on top of your head that you could go to. How do you think, or what's the best move for someone to make themselves that guy that is the first person someone thinks of to go to?
I think, obviously, trying to perfect your craft, number one, you know, and always be open to learning as much as you possibly can in all genres and styles of music. And that's going to add more value to what you do and what you bring to the table. Obviously, being a good human, you know what I mean? Just try to be good vibes, and but also I feel like creating and knowing your identity and your voice on whatever instrument that you're playing, that will give you an extra edge.
Like authenticity, or
yeah. If somebody were to listen to you play or see you play something, even if it was 7 notes, would they know it's you?
I love that.
They'd be out of time, so they'd know it's me. Interesting.
I love that. The 7-note challenge, you know, that's a great way of thinking, limiting yourself and being like, what does it boil down to? My technique or my style, you know, really, when you think about it.
Or sound, or or how you're
so
approach,
basically,
you know,
you've got one run through of the riff to 7 Nation Army to prove who you are as a bass player.
I'd love to hear that in so many different styles.
That'd be cool.
Totally,
you're absolutely right, though. It's like
that
absolutely.
Would be cool.
I'm struggling to. Well, no, I'm not struggling to think of bass players. It's just my mind went to like guitarists first, just with this kind of thing. And it's like, I know immediately from one note that Zakk Wylde is playing guitar immediately, because it's obviously, these are the key characteristics of X guitarist. I know exactly what I'm getting. Or like Slash. Whenever you hear Slash on something, you go, yeah, it's definitely Slash. And there are definitely bass players like that.
Flea is a good example of like someone who's got a language that speaks his own, you know.
And it doesn't have to be chops.
No.
I mean, it's approach and its choices in where you want to move and how you want to voice something.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. It's like someone like Pino or Tony Levin,
exactly.
That these kind of people. It's like Paul McCartney. You know, as soon as those people start playing, you're like, yep, I know exactly who that is.
Yeah,
definitely.
And like, it's so true, because so many of the bass parts that I really like, or the ones that stand out to me, are never the most complicated ones, or never the most shiny, oh my God, look at this playing ones. It's the ones where they're parts.
They're memorable, you know?
Yes.
Yeah,
and they fit in the moment, and it blends with everything else so well. It's that perfect way of being a bass player, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Fantastic. It's interesting when you said that, you know, met all these people and living in LA. Of course, LA is a place that always seems like so full of hopes and dreams. And come here, your dreams will come true to LA, and you meet all these people. But you've also lived in Nashville as well. Is that right?
I did.
How did you find the contrast between those two?
Man, it's a huge difference. Although I'm back in California, but it's becoming somewhat similar to Los Angeles in the way of a big music business town. Yeah. So I found it amazing how quick they do things there.
Interesting. In what way?
You know, country players and country sessions, and the majority of the sessions there, I mean, they're in there doing, it's like punching a time clock, going in and doing, okay, 10 to 12, here it is. If it's not done, it's not done. We're on to the next. Like,
wow.
But they do everything so quickly. It's like, I've been a band guy quite a bit. So, you know, we get in the studio and we're vibing out.
Yeah.
Oh, this works. Well, let's try it this way. And afforded that time, you know, to explore different sounds or explore different grooves or vibes. And in Nashville, no, this is what we're doing. Let's go.
Wow. Did you find
did
you find yourself in any like sticky situations because of that? You know, how was that shock?
Yeah, because I had never been in those. I wanted to, you know, try to do some things a little differently or whatever and be a little more creative, but it wasn't, here's your shot right now. All right, throw it down. Okay, that works. Let's go.
Or
it's very quick.
It's all tracked live anyway, and it's like, well, that's it. Done.
Yeah. And I've watched some sessions, and those players are just ridiculous because it's always right that first take. It's like, shit, excuse my language again. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then, you know, a couple of the guitar players might throw another extra solo or something, or an alternate solo or something on top. And it's all live, like you say. So excellent players. In LA and other places, my experience has been, you know, you can spend a little bit more time being creative, but in Nashville, not so much.
Interesting. And normally I'd be like, less creativity. Yeah. That sounds bad. But I suppose it makes sense for what those artists are trying to produce and trying to get out of the session people that are
and they already have their stuff. They have their stuff laid out. This is the song. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like it's like musical theatre as well. It's like, no, don't mess around. Here's a part. Just play that. Done. Just play that part. That's all we need.
Right.
You don't, you know, there's almost no room for creativity, but it's just like what you said, Johnny. It's like, we are booking you into this studio to play bass. I don't need a creative mind right now. We've done that part. It's just we need a physical mechanical bass player to play this music that's been composed, or we need you know, a jingle for an advert or something. It's like, yep, done. Just play that. I don't need another run of, I might put a bit of chorus on at the end. Like, no, don't need that. Just play. Just play.
No.
Thank you. Next one. Job done.
But there is a beauty to that.
Oh, it's definitely
to be able to do that job. Yeah. And it's an art. It's like, you know, you have to be skilled to be able to make it right, make it sound the way it's supposed to sound in a very, very, very short amount of time. All right, pick up the bass. Here it is.
you have to be able to.
I prefer, it's not always an option, but I like to get a little more creative and kind of sit in a little bit. So it takes me a little longer.
Yeah. I think that
the end result is ultimately, the end result ultimately is what you'd hope for, better, because you've been given some breathing room to sort of experiment a little bit. And also, even if the part isn't changing, just take the pressure off. You know, like you might be like, you know what? I was actually a little bit ahead of everyone that first time, but we have the time to go back again and go, okay, I'm a bit more relaxed now. I can sit back and I've dropped into the correct space, as opposed to being a bit like, okay, whoa, here we go.
Right.
What do you mean there's an E flat? That's bullshit.
I mean, going back to those players in Nashville, the session guys, because there's a fairly small group that they do every record, every session. So watching them work is truly amazing. It is.
I would love to sit in on something like that. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I could learn to do it, but I don't think I could be that kind of guy. Like I'm a band guy as well. I've always been a band guy.
Yeah.
I don't mind things like, recording at home, or, if you need me to record something, I will just record what you want and send it to you. I don't mind that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But my preference would always be like a kind of like, let's flesh this part out a little bit, or I've had a little bit of time to listen to the drummer and I've noticed, oh, actually what you play in verse 3 is different than verse 2. I'm going to follow you.
Right.
And I'm going to add some variation as well to match up with your variation. Whereas in that intense studio moment where it's like kind of just go, here's the chart, or you got the chart this morning and you've had a minute and then off you go. There's not really room for that. Well, there's not really room for that is basically the best way to describe it. But it's definitely a skill. Absolutely.
The other thing that they use is the number system.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
I don't know this.
I'm very familiar with the Nashville number system, but I'll let you explain it, Josh.
Well, I don't really know it well, but when I first moved there, I knew nothing about it. So basically, the number system, instead of reading notation, they call out the chords by the 1 or the 4 or the 5 or 6. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I mean, that you basically explained it. It would be if we're in the key of C, for example, no one's going to shout C. They're going to shout 1,
right?
Because 1 is the root. And then, for example, it'd be like, you might hear someone shout, or it'll be written down pre-chorus. It's 4, 2, 5, 5, back to the 1, and that would be F.
Yeah.
The 2 would be the B. B? No, C. It would be the B. No, it wouldn't be the B. Oh my god.
C.
No,
never
D.
mind. I
D.
forgot it. Never mind.
D. It's basically
a D. Sorry.
Intervals in the scale.
Yes, every number is equivalent to the interval number within the scale. So C, D, E, F, G, B, back to C, but then you've got the added bit where they'll go like minor second, or 4 minor 1, and that doesn't really affect bass players as much because they'll still just want an F. But the guitarist, that means play an F, which will be an F major, the key of C major. But then they want the F minor and then back to the C, which is like a very common, way to get out of a chorus or a pre-chorus and stuff. But that is essentially the system.
It's when you think about it, it's a quicker way to get through the charts. And they write their notes. And first time I saw it, I was
what
like,
is this?
Yeah. What?
Is that an L?
What is a? All right.
Are these the
Luckily,
frets?
fortunately,
at least you didn't start playing it like tab.
I have a
yeah.
Fortunately, I have a very a good ear, and I can pick things up very, very quickly. So that helped a lot. But learning the number system was something different, and I had some good friends there who do that very well, so they helped me out, and everybody was really cool.
Amazing.
Well, that's good.
Because something like that, I imagine, can be quite intimidating when it's like that is the home of music, in the world, the capital. And thinking these seasoned professionals, what am I doing here? When you think, I don't even know what this thing is.
Yeah, you walk in thinking, oh, I've done some stuff.
I've got this.
I mean, I know how to play.
I haven't got this.
And then you go in, and then you're just like, whoa, no. All right, I'm gonna watch you guys because you guys sound great. Yeah. Do that.
You're like, I'll play the tambourine in the background. It's fine.
Yeah. No, but and that is going back to what I was talking about earlier. Trying to learn always, and expand your knowledge of music in general, but whatever instrument that you're playing is always helpful. And I like the challenge, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Be a sponge. Be a sponge is a good phrase I like to use.
Yeah.
be in an environment where you're always looking for something to absorb. You know, what can I learn? Because that's how I judge whether I'm like done with a gig as well. Like I've had a few reoccurring bar gigs where I've wanted to keep them on, not only for the financial side, but also, you know, I'm meeting new people. You know, there's a new guy in today who's playing saxophone. It's like, oh, you know, I've not played with a saxophone player in a while. Let's see what he does. How can I interact with him and support him? Or it's a different drummer, and it's like I'm being a sponge. But then when there's nothing left to sponge up, it's like okay, have I outgrown the environment, or is there just nothing left to learn? And if there is, that's usually my time to kind of go, okay, I need to find a new. I like to be the dumbest person in the room. That's a good way. I want to be the. I want to be the worst.
It happens a lot, Chris.
Way. Oh, I felt that right in the plums. Thank you. Well, yes, my point still stands. I like to be the dumbest person in the room, the least experienced person in the room, the worst musician in the room. Because then for me, it's like ears are open, eyes open. You know, what can I do? How can I learn? Like I'm going on tour in 2 weeks. And it's the first tour I've done, not as a session guy. It's my own band. So it's like, cool. I've never been in that world, you know, that world of like original band touring. I've normally just done it as like a guy for hire where it doesn't really matter. I'm just here to play bass and that's it. Whereas now it's like, well, no, there's an active level of investment in this. This is my baby. So
exactly.
It's like, what can I do? What can I learn? Where can I go? What am I doing wrong? How can I refine this? How can I be more efficient? How can I make sure we're not spending as much money as we are? You know, all these kind of things. But but it's a learning
making
experience.
the most of every moment whilst you're there.
Well, there's that too as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely superb. Chris, shall we move on to our second question?
We certainly will. Obviously, in your career, Josh, you have, I don't know why I had to pause for dramatic effect for the word career.
Is that what you call it?
Is that it? God. Having played everything in your career from like clubs to theatres all the way up to arenas, what would you say are the main differences, apart from size and, you know, audience capacity, between those styles of venues? And as a bit of a follow-up question, is there any advice that you've learned in large venues like arenas and big theatres that people could bring down into like a smaller or club-sized venue? No.
That's a great question. So one of the, personally, my favorite venues to play are theaters, because you're close enough to people that you can feel the energy, and you can, the sound is always great. It's not it's not a sweaty sweatbox club, you know, and it's not a huge arena where you're so disconnected from everything to where you can't even really see many faces at all. You just kind of see
the lights on the first two rows.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly. However, depending on what the gig is, and depending on what the music is, and depending on how you're feeling that day and how you're playing that day, there's an energy in each one of those situations and atmospheres that is all the same. So I think you can be playing in front of 10 people or 10,000 people. And if you're bringing that energy and connecting with people, it's all the same, you know, it's the same experience ultimately. And you have to play that way. I've been in situations where some people might be bummed that there's not a lot of people at the gig. And that showed.
Oh no.
And it's unfortunate that because you're going into it with that mindset, your performance suffers. and people recognize that. So it's not fair to the audience. So I would say that's what you have to bring. You got to bring it to every show, every venue, every club. There are the obvious differences on, like I said a few minutes ago about, in an arena or a stadium, you can't really tell what's going on. The sound, I mean, hopefully you have in-ears or something like that to be able to hear what's going on, because the stage is so big, depending on how you're set up. But yeah, I hope that answered your question, or part of each.
I think so, because it's almost like there's huge differences in many ways, but the thing that you need to do is the same, and you shouldn't treat them differently. Like if it's the same
Exactly.
band or same, gig in those three different types of venues, and then you've got festivals in there as well.
Right. If you're, I mean, the rest is just logistics. Still bring the energy.
Just imagine all those people in the audience far away, just absolutely dripping in sweat with their top off, like they would in a sweatbox venue, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to sort of maybe touch on some of the technical ends of stuff, I mean, sound-wise, hopefully you have a good sound guy, and depending on the style of music or whatever you're playing, but sometimes in a larger venue and atmosphere, some of the more technical or subtle things get lost in translation, just because of the sheer
like the
space.
mass of what's going out. Yeah.
Yes. So that's it, especially for drummers. I've noticed. You know what I mean? And all you can hear is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was going to. That's such a good point, because me and Jonny both at separate venues went to see Bring Me the Horizon last week, and you've sent a light bulb off in my head, because I was thinking there was something about the support band was a band called Bad Omens, and I really enjoyed their set, really enjoyed it. And Bring Me the Horizon were on afterwards, and there was something about it that I just. There was a few things that I couldn't quite connect with. It was like it wasn't really making my brain go ooh as much as the band before. And I think a lot of it might have had to do with the intricacies of the drumming, because I feel like the drum parts for the headline band with Bring Me the Horizon are more complicated, or at least have more hand-related things, like more ghost notes, more kind of intricacies in the cymbals, and either due to just, probably most likely a technical problem of some description or a mix issue. I wasn't getting that. And it kind of lost me. Whereas the previous band was lots of just strong bass drum playing, big snare hits, simple fills. And I was like, everything was just like pummeling me in the face in a really good way. And I was like,
well, that's
but that's what I mean. It's like I was getting the energy. The energy was translated through the PA to me, whereas with Bring Me the Horizon, it felt like to a bit.
Yeah,
it wasn't to an extent.
If you look at someone like AC/DC, for example, and they're a stadium band, and they've been doing that for ever. They know how to play for that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to say that's why they're doing that by any means. But I saw them play, and you can hear everything happening, and everything's on 10. So maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
There will be something to that, especially from a sound design issue. Because if you think of the instrumentation of AC/DC, it's like drums, bass, 2 guitars, vocal. It's like there's room in the PA for everything to have its own little spot, and it's all good.
It's got to have its space.
Whereas if you're playing with a big modern rock production, and this could apply to you as well, like Daughty, for example. It's like, we've got bass, we've got keyboards, we've got 2 guitars, we've got lead vocals, we've got backing vocals, and then we've got track as well. And it's like, where does everything live? There's so much going on in this space. That's where your intricacies are just kind of like lost because there's already so much going on.
If you see like I don't know who a good example is, but somebody maybe like the Blue Note or the Baked Potato in LA.
You could just be making up random.
You say it like we've been there. Yeah, like yeah.
No, well they're
you
little
know baked beans.
They're small
Pines,
jazz clubs. But if you see, well-known musicians play there quite often, and you know, just like Chad Wackerman or Vinny Colaiuta or those types of drummers will play there. But you go in there and you see them, and you can hear and see and feel everything that they're doing. But I have a feeling that if you were to see that potentially in a stadium, some of that is bound to get lost in mix or in the translation out front.
Yeah, just because of the sheer mass of what's going on. Like, I can't really hear like the intricate ghost notes because I'm relying solely on the PA. Whereas when you watched same drummer in like a 150 cap venue where you can actually just hear the snare. Forget the PA, you can hear the snare. It's like, oh well, all of those little minor points are much more prominent to me.
Spoken a little bit about tones and stuff in here, and I think that brings us on nicely to our next segment, which is called That Tone You Own. This is probably my favorite segment because this is where we get our lovely guests to bring along a tone that maybe one that they consider to be their own, or maybe one that we've chosen, or maybe one that just inspired by in the moment. And I think we've done just that with this next tone that Josh has brought along. So what we're going to do is we are going to have a listen to it now. And then Josh, if you wouldn't mind breaking it down for us a little bit, we can jump straight into it. Let's have a listen. I don't know about you, Chris, but I thoroughly enjoyed this tone in particular. This one was available as a reel on Josh's Instagram, and I was like, this has got to be the one we talk about. It's like it breaks all the rules of bass, and that's why I love it, because we've got multi effects going on. We've got high notes, we've got low notes, we've got chords being played. Was this one that you had written yourself for that video?
Yeah. It was one. It's one of my tracks called Life, and I tried to fill up some space in a creative way, not in a overdoing it way. Although it might be overdoing it, I don't know. But I think the tone and the part just works well with the rest of the track.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like playing multiple roles here, isn't it? It's not just trying to be the bass, because you said this song, is this a fully fledged like 3-4 minute song then that this has come from?
Yeah. It's I'm still actually putting the rest of the pieces together on it, but that piece in particular is the meat and potatoes of the track. It's kind of like the driving force.
Yeah, amazing. Well, driving force indeed it is. I mean, I guess there's a little spoiler in the video itself. Let's talk gear for a second for that one. I know there'll be people listening going, how on earth have you gotten that sound? It sounds so thick and tasty. So start with the bass, then go through the effects. What are you using here?
Okay. I have a Music Man Dark Ray that I use, and I believe I'm using the Omega channel on there. There's Alpha and Omega, and I've added a Dark Glass Vintage Deluxe Overdrive, just a touch, as well as a MXR phaser, deep phase.
Nice. And do you often like put phaser and drive together, or was that just something you thought, you know what this part needs?
I was messing with the sound, and it just sounded a little too plain. When I kicked on the phaser, it brought in a bit of a synthy almost element. So that's what I was looking for, especially in the context of what the track is. Kind of almost a funky sort of aggressive thing. That's where I wanted to throw in the dirt, was not to make it sound like just some other R&B or funk track.
The dirt was just to cover up all the mistakes, I'm assuming.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what I get in the YouTube comments. They're like, that's all dirt's good for. And I'm like, right, okay.
Well, then that's a great advantage then, if that's the case. Absolutely. You are right about. I think you raised a good point.
I mean, it is funny about the internet is, everybody's got something to say, which is cool, which is fine. But I have always wondered, and I still ponder this every day. If I don't like something, or I'm not feeling something, or I just go on right by. I don't pay any attention to it, right? But there are people that live to speak negatively on almost everything. Like and it blows my mind. I'm
and
just,
you're,
man,
you're on a podcast with two of them right now.
Get outside and have some sunshine, and I don't know, look at a butterfly. Shit, Michael.
Come on, man.
We don't have butterflies in the north of England. They're all
okay,
dead.
All right. Well,
what's wrong with being a caterpillar? Damn it!
Like, why? I wanted to be a moth.
Think you're so big and mighty,
no, but
with your silly wings.
Yeah, no, but I use I enjoy grit, and I use it for a bit of attitude. Even on my clean tone, I have a little bit of gain behind there because it makes it cut.
That's a trick I've only really in the last couple of months really of gigging. It's like now my clean tone, unless it has to be it really does need to be clean.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to play My Girl by the Temptations with like a fuzz on. That would be
Bring the dark ray for that one.
That would be, oh my God, can you imagine that? But even
I would actually do
you
it.
Would. And you should.
They'd be like, we've hired you for this, Josh. We know what you're going to do.
Josh has been hired for like a nice little like brunch gig, just a piano player, a cajon maybe, like a light soprano vocalist.
Yeah.
What did you bring, Josh? Oh, the dark ray.
Yeah.
Oh, I've taped it.
Make
I've taped the controls on full.
I think you should go full circle.
It might make people cry. I don't know. Frighten people.
You should go full circle, Josh, and bring the dark ray and play it with the Dixie band. That would be an amazing moment.
Yes.
For you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I might get some death threats online. I don't know.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Another thing the internet is great for.
Yay. But you do raise an excellent point. Like a little bit of grit almost at all times. It's just nice to kind of like help push you through the mix a little bit, not enough to be like obvious, just a little bit. And your phaser point is bang on as well. I'm a big fan of like songs that maybe just have the bass parts are like just like long notes. Just like you play a C for 2 bars and you just hold it and then you move to the next one. I have a little phaser inside my I don't have a phaser inside my quad cortex. I turn on the phaser. There's a little bit of phaser in everyone. Whether you like it or not.
It's just a phase. It's just
not a phase.
It's not a phaser, Mom.
Wow. Long notes, a little bit of phaser, just nice and slow, adds a little bit of texture and movement to the part in a really nice way. And then you can pretend you're Eddie Van Halen as well, which is obviously the real advantage.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. It just things like that and modulation and effects are so fun because it's like adding an accent to a language, like where it just sounds a lot more exotic and filled out and just better. It's like going, buongiorno compared to a buongiorno, you know? Like,
It's a good impression of me, that.
Thanks.
Buongiorno.
I thought you meant the second one.
Bass.
I like to, with my use of effects, I really build the part around the effects. So I'll experiment with some sounds, and I'll have something in mind that I kind of hear, and then I'll really sort of massage, if you will, the part to work with the effect.
Just painted an amazing picture in my head then.
I bet you did. Wow. Good Lord.
Yeah, and you kind of answered what was going to be my next question, which was exactly that, about what comes first, like chicken or the egg type thing, the effect or the line. And so many of the times it's the effect when you play with it, and then you think, oh, this inspires this, and here we go, and that's where it takes it. And like often
Definitely.
I'll just sit at home, I put a drum loop on, and then that's how a bass line will come out, even if it's just like a bum ba bum bum ba, like something really simple, and then having a bass line that can complement that, it just drives the creativity in a way, that you wouldn't do otherwise.
For sure.
Absolutely. And then you also have that thing where it's like, there's a phrase of like, there are songs inside pedals, where you turn on something and go, oh, well, now I want to play like this. Like, I always find whenever I turn a chorus on, I immediately I want to do like drone notes on the high, on the D string. And it's almost like I'm trying to be Justin Chancellor from Tool. It's like, you immediately want to play like that. And for me as well, as soon as the octave comes on, it's like, well, I want to be more staccato and kind of like, I want to play high. And those are not things that you are playing and then adding the pedal on. You activated the effect, and then that has influenced you the other way around, which is always just a really cool thing to think about. And it's nice to know that you feel the same about it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I love trying to take and see what other approach might work. I'm not scared of experimenting. And I've found that the more that you can do that, the clearer your identity sort of begins to shine through. Because how else are you going to find who you want to be or how you're expressing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Said like a true pro. I think the same applies to not just effects, but instruments as well. Like the P bass, I would write something completely different on a P bass compared to even maybe a Stingray, where...
Right. And that says a lot about their own identities, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And that's when I reviewed a bass one time, and it was a Sandbird. That's something you find at the beach that then flies away. A Sandberg Electra. I can't remember the actual name of it now, but it was a P bass, their P bass copy, but it had an active preamp, you could turn passive, and the pickup had big magnets, pole pieces, almost like a split coil Music Man pickup. And I just felt like it had no soul. Like it didn't know what it wanted to be. It was trying to be both of those basses and just didn't give you anything. And so I found it really lackluster when I played it up. And technically was a great bass. Like it played amazingly well. But it just goes to show that if the bass doesn't have that soul, then you're not going to enjoy it. And it could be the best spec-wise bass in the world and be set up impeccably. But if it doesn't have that, it's kind of useless.
Well, I believe that there's something for everyone. So depending on what you're doing and depending on what your preferences are and what your needs are, there really is something for everyone, because I've played basses that are $100. Some of them wouldn't work for everything that I do. I had one in particular that I bought for a music video because of the color, because I didn't have a bass that color. And that bass is one of the coolest basses that I've ever had. But to your point, I think, a lot of, when it comes to manufacturing and trying to get people something that they could use almost like as a workhorse, like a little bit of this, and you could use this for everything. And then sometimes maybe it could be where it's like by trying to do too much, you're missing the mark on making what does this do really well.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like a jack of all trades, master of none type situation, isn't it?
Right.
Just it does a little bit of everything, but nothing spot on. And for some people that works.
But that might be awesome for someone.
Well, yeah, I would never take that away for sure. It does, but for me, straight in the bin. Not for me. Awful.
There you go. There you go.
Chris, shall we move on to our next and final question?
Next and final question. We touched on this briefly just a moment ago. Josh, you're always so positive. Why aren't you grumpy like me? No, you always display such like a positive outlook online, which is obviously very nice to see. How do you keep that mindset? How do you keep that mindset up? Basically, the original question was, how do you keep that mindset up as a working musician? But I think it's more interesting to expand that a little bit more and say, like, how do you just keep that mindset forward in general, both as a working musician, whether you're just playing at home, family life, these kind of things, when they all come together. How do you do that?
I would say that I think the alternative is just a bad place to be, right? And it all starts with inside you and a mindset. And I do try to tell my kids this as well. It's like you have a choice when you wake up in the morning, and you can make this a good day or a bad day. That doesn't obviously mean that you can control what's going to happen during the day, right? But when you wake up in the morning and, you have to convince yourself and be determined to approach it with a positive vibe and outlook. And I think if you do that from the top of the day, everything else just kind of feels a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be tough for some people to just take that approach and just be like, well, I can't. I just feel so bad all the time. But that's certainly the
first step to that though is like just saying, okay, I understand that, maybe this is not an optimal situation that I'm in, or there are things that aren't amazing, but I really do look for the things that I am grateful for, and that helps those moments. Like, okay, well, I guess at least there's this, because we're all human. We all have struggles, and we all have issues, and we all have different things that we're reaching for that might not be coming as fast, or when it comes to career, or when it comes to finances, or when it comes to, I don't know, love. But I think that, speaking of love, I think that if you approach life with love and love for life, that helps as well.
Yeah. Seeing the light side of things, applying yourself to that as well.
Even if it's just a little bit, even if you just tell yourself, all right, let's go. I also think, like, going back to like the troll thing on the internet, it's like, dude, why fill your head with that much negativity, or why spread that much negativity? If I can help inspire someone and hopefully make them feel good or inspired, or at least leave whatever they're watching from me or listening to from me, or if they've ever seen me play and they feel kind of good about themselves, awesome. I don't want to spread any kind of negativity at all.
No. And I totally agree with you there. It's like, I don't want to be the reason to ruin someone's day or to cause difficulty to someone else. And I'm very much like a no confrontation, no thank you, no. That's the last thing I want. I will do it, but it's the last thing that I want. So always trying to approach things with this positive mental attitude. And hell, I got PMA tattooed on my arm for that reason. I was like, gotta keep it up.
No, it's practice though. You know what I mean? It is practice because no one is happy, jolly every single day.
Actually,
you know what I'm saying? That's just not realistic.
The P does stand for practice. Actually, it's practice more, asshole. That's
there
what
we go.
Means actually.
Perfect. But yeah, no. I much prefer to try to be a positive light in this world that has quite a bit of darkness.
Yeah.
So
it's
however I can inspire someone, I don't know, make someone's day better. Awesome.
That's the way to look at it. I think is to try and I mean, what advice would you give to someone that is it like yourself? You know, you feel like this darkness, and then it can be hard to try and reflect that, to be like a mirror. You know, to try and not absorb it all. So you want to be sponges, like we said earlier, knowledge, but not to the negativity. And it'd be hard to block that out sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially now and when all that news and the bad stuff is so accessible, to try and block that out and separate it and not let it impact you is very difficult. And
well, it's hard not to get caught up, you know? I mean, it really is. The stuff that you expose yourself to is a big thing. And just remembering, like, okay, take a step back and just like, you're a human trying to work it out, trying to just live. And that's okay, you know? Like, it may sound cliche or it may sound corny, but, you know, spread some good vibes.
Yeah.
Spread some love out there and just, we're all trying to live here on this,
so just live.
on this planet.
We're trying to work it. Everyone's trying to work it out.
It's a community. Yeah. So, and you know, we're all pretty much the same ultimately.
And as musicians, we're kind of lucky in a way that we are in a position that we can do that. We can bring people excitement and joy, and whether that be being up on stage for half an hour or to recording something online. You know, there's so many facets to do that.
That's why one of the reasons why I really want to finish and put together this funk thing, because I feel like that always puts a smile on people's face. You know,
it's very hard to be in a bad mood when like funk is being played. Like I've never been upset listening to Chic.
Never.
That would be weird though.
Never.
Can you imagine like Good Times is playing and you're just like,
yeah,
fucking Mike.
Or pissed off. Yeah. Fucking Mike, man.
So in terms of that project then, is how long have you been working on this? And can you spill some beans?
Dude, I have so many hard drives filled with tracks and
I'm glad you said with tracks. My God.
But I it's just a matter of me actually diving in with both feet and doing it. I keep threatening to do it, and this year is when I'm going to
do it.
So
you just you've got to. It sounds like you're approaching demo-itis. You just gotta do it.
I am.
The songs are fine.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, that's not that cool. Well, maybe that'll work. Well, yeah. Okay, and then something else will come over, and I'll go do this. But this year, I'm doing it. So
he's doing it.
He said it. He's manifesting.
Here it is. We're going, and I want to get out, and I want to, like you were talking about touring with your own thing. I want to get out and do that as well, because I've never throughout my career, I've been so fortunate to play with all of these different people, and it's been great. I've had so many cool experiences, and been able to support my family doing it since I was 18 years old. But I never had a chance to get out and do my own thing and tour on my own thing. So I really want to do that as well.
Yeah, it's a different thing, isn't it? Like I've I've played with a lot of people where it's like, yeah, I'm really enjoying myself. Don't get me wrong, but it's like this is work to an extent, or like this is your thing and you're really enjoying it, but I'm just helping facilitate your goal right now. Whereas going out and doing something where it's like, no, this is my thing. Like I really want this to do well. Is like a different, not necessarily a different level, but a different like layer. There's a richness to it. Is probably the only way I can describe it. For your positive mental attitude, we thank you.
I appreciate you guys.
Well, we're probably going to take away some of that positive mental attitude now as we put you through your paces. Because we have some surprise quick-fire questions for you to round things off on the podcast, if that's okay. These are very much going to be no conferring with anyone else, no thinking. It's going to be the first thing comes to your head, and there will be some polarizing things in here. So, prepare yourself.
And you are not allowed to elaborate on your answer. You can't be like, oh well, I could do this. Like, no, one or the other, and you can't tell us why. Ahead. Johnny, you are first up.
Here we go. Do you prefer me or Chris? No, that's no. That wasn't one. You can message me that afterwards. It's fine. Yeah.
I am PayPaling you £10 as we speak.
Sweet. Winning. Question one. Pick or fingers?
Fingers.
Very nice. Question 2. Active or passive?
Active.
Question 3. Rounds or flats?
Rounds.
I would have been very surprised if you'd said flats.
Yeah, there was a suspicious long pause there. I was expecting that.
We won't ask why.
Well, because I like both. I like both, but I
You're not allowed. No.
But
no.
Okay.
You can't be Swiss in this situation. You've got to be
I was just
one or the
say,
other.
It's so very Swiss. I can smell the cheese from here. Jeez.
Depends on the gig.
Of course, yes. Depends on the gig, I know. Maybe we'll get in with this one. Question 4. 4-string or 5?
Ooh. Are we talking about now? Like currently?
I'm right. Josh, are you free tonight? I need you for a gig. 4 or 5?
4.
Okay.
Very nice.
In-ear monitors or wedges?
I like wedges way more, but I use in-ears.
Oh, yes. He gets it. He gets
Good
it.
answer. Yeah, it's the feel, man.
I want to elaborate, but we won't. But yes.
Don't break the rules.
I know. I use in-ears more. Fucking wish I could just have wedges all the time.
Why don't you combine the two?
Yeah.
What? Two wedges.
Just sticky tape to your head.
Yeah.
Because those are called headphones.
Yeah, that's headphones.
Oh, yeah. Damn it. Oh, wait, that's 6. What I'm doing now.
Yeah, we've got, I'm rocking the wedges right now.
They call me old wedge head Dibble, they call me.
That is what they call you. Question 6. P or J?
J.
Very nice.
Question 7. Desert Island Bass.
Stingray 4 HH.
Very good.
Very good.
Question 7. What's the best bass effect?
Well, overdrive, of course.
Very well.
I concur. That was, in fact, question 8.
Oh,
my dear.
What did I say?
7.
Oh, well, who cares? I only know how to count to 4.
Okay. Well, let us continue. Question 7.
I once counted to 5 on accident.
Stop it. It's all that Nashville number thing.
Number system, like.
Yeah.
Well, that actually does only go up to 7 as well.
Mind.
that was the first problem.
My mind.
You're like,
yeah.
Oh God, there's numbers beyond 4.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Question 7.
No, it's question 9.
No, it's question 7. They're all question 7 now.
Oh, they're all question 7. Sorry, my apologies. Yes. Question 7.
Question 7. Unpopular bass opinion.
Oh. That you have to follow rules.
Ooh. Edgy. I like it.
Yeah. Breaking all the rules.
I know what kind of kid you were in school. Final question. Question 7. This is a good one, this. And you might not care, actually, thinking about it. You might just go, none. Question 10. And we are allowed to elaborate on this one. What Star Wars character would be the best at bass?
Oh, wow.
When you've answered, we will tell you ours, but we'll be brief because we've said it on other episodes.
Okay. Chewbacca.
Ooh. Interesting. Tell me why, and I'll give you an interesting story about that.
Well, I think he really doesn't have a ton to say. He just wants to stick to his job and do what he does and kind of just hang. He looks cool. Big ass dude with the bass.
It's always the hairiest
gnarly
man is the bass player.
Yeah. He's like, just give me the bass, brother.
Yeah,
it's all good.
That's it. I don't need to
I
talk.
can see this.
But I will fuck you up.
There we go.
He'll rip your arms off. Trust me.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah.
It's so interesting you said that because we when we had Ian on the podcast, he said Mace Windu. But then in the comments of our post where we talked about that, Amos Heller from Taylor Swift fame, among other things, commented saying Han Solo would make a great bass player. And me, being the very polite and subtle man I am, said he was wrong and said the correct answer would be Han Solo, not a bass player. Han Solo is a lead guitarist through and through. He doesn't listen to the drummer. He doesn't do it as he's told. Chewie is the bass player on the Millennium Falcon. 100%.
But yeah, because he's like keeping things going really. Everyone thinks they're listening to the guitar, but no.
Exactly.
They're feeling the bass.
No.
Exactly. Amos is more than welcome to come on and argue that point with me. Absolutely.
Amos is a great dude.
And that he is.
He's a great dude.
Cannot be denied.
Yeah.
I will tell you...
awesome bass player,
100%.
too.
Johnny, before we do, Chris,
go on.
One more thing for Chewie. I think that he would have a super punchy tone because Han Solo's always telling him to punch it. Punchiest tone in the game.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Punching that hyperdrive.
Okay.
Briefly to explain, Johnny, would you like to tell Josh what your answer was to this? You're wrong, but if you'd like to.
In a similar vein,
we had an argument about this.
Yeah, a man of very few words who just turns up, does the job, and just looks so cool. People might not even do much, but he's just so cool that he's the man, and that's Boba Fett.
Oh, I was gonna say Boba Fett.
There you go.
But I actually think he might be a better singer, lead singer.
Really?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. He's mysterious. He's pretty badass.
You know that scene
and he's out there.
Like the extended version or the George Lucas version of Return of the Jedi when it's like the awful CGI characters singing?
No.
Like, it would have been much better than like Boba's like, get out the way. I'm going to get involved,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Very nice. I disagreed with Johnny quite passionately because I think his dad would have been a better bass player. I think Jango Fett would have been a better bass player because he was given a brief, he was given a job to do, and he did it, and he nailed it. And the second he went out of line and overstepped his mark, Samuel L. Jackson cut his head off. Which is basically bass player, nails the gig, gets a bit cocky in the car park after the gig, and gets the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
There we go.
We all relate.
It happens.
We've all been there.
We all relate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that's the most
Right
important
on.
thing about the podcast. We should start with that, really. I think it's,
I mean,
the best thing about it.
just slow it down so it lasts the whole time.
We always say that's the spin-off podcast.
Josh, we're having a bit of a technical issue at the moment.
That did sound like Chewbacca was coming through then.
Oh, sweet.
Incredible. Well, Josh Paul, thank you so much for joining us for this very episode. I would invite everyone else to please, if you're watching this one on YouTube, comment down below what you thought and any other questions you would have for Josh or what you wanted to hear. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Again, like I said, go and follow us on Instagram and make sure you let us know what you thought of this episode. We will put out a post with all the clips of this one, so you can do so on there. And just let us know what you think. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., wherever you get your podcast in your ear holes, please rate us 5 stars. We'd love to hear your reviews, and it helps something to do with algorithms to get us to reach more people, and more people means more guests. It means more podcasts, means more bass. So please give us a 5-star rating if you can. Josh, where can people find you on the internet? What have you got going on? Sell yourself, baby.
I'm not very good at that. You can always find me and send me messages. I tried to answer DMs on Instagram. It's Josh Paul. And I am in the process of recording a bunch of things, doing some shows, and hopefully getting out on tour with some people this year. So, but hit me up on Instagram. That's where I mostly live.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Definitely do so. People watching this, I think, will most likely know you from Instagram for the killer content and so many tones and reels you put up. They're just very inspiring. Very inspiring indeed. So definitely go and follow him over on Instagram. If you want to follow myself or Chris, you can find me on Instagram at Jonny Dibble and also on YouTube for the same name. If you liked Stingrays, and if you're a fan of Josh, you probably like Stingrays. I'm giving away this Stingray right here, the Pete Wentz Sterling Stingray. Make sure you enter via my Instagram post that's pinned at the top if you want to be in with a chance. Shipping worldwide. Get involved, it might be yours. Who knows?
I feel like Josh is eyeing it up now.
I am. I like that bass. I do like that bass. It's a cool bass.
It's very cool. It's very cool. And I got to stop myself playing it to otherwise I'll be like, I don't want to let it go. I'll be like, sorry, actually. Yeah. No. Chris, where can people find you, my dear?
You can find me everywhere under That Guy on Bass. I'm going to conclude the episode with my famous plug, the absolute shameless plug. Please check out my band. My band is called Darla. That's Darlah. Nice. If you like big fat riffs, we have some. We are going on tour. By the time this episode comes out, we will be about 1.5 weeks away from going. We're playing all over the UK. Well, almost all over the UK. We're not playing in Manchester, which is near me. So I'm obviously fuming. But
reason for that.
Yeah, I was going to call it a shithole, but it's not. It's my shithole. And we're playing all over the UK with a lovely band called As Everything Unfolds. A few venues, I think, are actually about to sell out. If you live in Brighton, I'm really sorry. I think there's only one ticket left, actually, which is always nice.
Josh, there's still time. Get your ticket.
There's still time, Josh, to get down to specifically Brighton.
That's a long ass walk, but I'll try.
You start now, and I'll see you in February 2026, and a swim as well. But yes, please check us out. We pin some stuff in the description of the video. Got a full EP out. If you like it, please do let me know. And if you don't like it, don't let me know, because my fragile ego can't take it. But apart from that, That Guy on Bass, Darla. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Once again, Josh, I want to say a huge thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we hope you had a fun time.
Thank you, guys. I absolutely did. You guys are the best. And everyone out there, I appreciate you.
Those guys are the best. Mike, you're the best. All right, we take it back.
Thank you, Mike.
Once again, everyone, thank you so much for listening. See you next time.
Ta-ta.